Welcome to another edition of the Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. Joining me today is my good old pal, my friend Mikey McNuggets of Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Mikey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Mac. We got about 20 minutes here to break down the most exciting team in the NBA now, and I cannot believe we are talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers when I say the most exciting team in the NBA. There was no juice around this team 10 days ago, Mac. It felt like a dried up, old raisin of a basketball team. There was nothing exciting. You could find the little
damn, like it was that bad to you.
Listen, on a day-to-day basis, it was. I feel like we were doing the same show over and over. They started to play better, which helped, but for the first 40 games, they were 21-19. And it's like, hey, it doesn't matter. It's the regular season. Just wait to the playoffs. They got 3 new additions. They got an all-top 75 player of all time in the fold. Rotations. How does Evan Mobley fit back in? The possibilities for discussion are endless now. And I feel like it has reinvigorated and re-energized the entire Cavs talking community.
I think that when you look at the last couple of weeks, really the last 2 weeks for this Cavaliers team, it feels like a whirlwind, right? The emotional toll of it all that was guys that have become near and dear to our hearts, whether that be Darius Garland or otherwise, right? DeAndre Hunter, after being acquired last season, a lot of people were of the belief, including myself, that he would be the next big wing of the future for this Cavaliers team. But the writing was on the proverbial wall with that after the emergence of Jalen Tyson, Sam Merrill being who he has been this year, and Naquan Tomlin and a bevy of other names. So that was easier to get over and digest. But just the moves that they have made over these last 2 weeks has completely shifted, I think, the mindset of this fan base. Whether or not you were a fan of the Harden deal, you were skeptical of it, or you praised it, I think that with our eyeballs, you would have to be a madman to not see the level of potential that this team now has on both sides of the basketball. Now, obviously, it's not James Harden. It has a lot to do with the addition of Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroder as well. But at the same time, this does truly feel like an entirely different season than when it began. I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it right now.
And it's not just those additions, Mac. Jarrett Allen's been reinvigorated since Evan Mobley went out, and figuring out how to keep this version of Jarrett Allen, the version of Jarrett Allen moving forward, is a gigantic task for Kenny Atkinson and company.
Oh, yeah.
How do they fit Mobley and Allen into a James Harden and Donovan Mitchell lineup? Will there be enough spacing to play the style James Harden wants to and thrived in throughout the course of his career? He's never really played with 2 bigs like that. And Mobley's 3-point shot before he got hurt had been trending down, and down, which does not provide the spacing James Harden typically wants. But you got to reinvigorate Jarrett Allen. Donovan, and talking to him last night for the first time since these trades, you could just get a sense that this matters now. He's locked in. He feels a newfound belief in this team. And I even asked him, Mac, I said, hey, they went all in. Like, this was a deal to go in. Do you think you have the pieces in this locker room now? And I asked James Harden the exact same question, but I said, do you think you have the pieces now to win a championship? And Donovan and James both said, yeah, we do. We genuinely feel like we do. And this is not the first time I've been asked that question throughout the course of my career. They each individually kind of said the same thing in different words. And I haven't always felt that way in the past. I 1000% feel that way about this current iteration of the Cavs, that we can get healthy. So buckle up, Mac. I'm hoping we're talking deep into June, man. I'm hoping that's the case.
It has to be the case after making a swing like this, right? This is what they're banking on. They would not have moved Darius Garland had they felt otherwise, if they had another avenue to not only stay young, right? Because, James Harden is not a spring chicken, but he is still an elite offensive talent. And honestly, the defensive side of the basketball, you've seen him extremely bought in on that end and showing a lot more effort than you had in years prior. All of this said, this is a 3-game sample size. And through these first 3 games of the James Harden era, James Harden is averaging 19.3 points, 5.3 rebounds, 8.7 assists. That's a beautiful sight right there. 1.3 blocks. I didn't know that we'd be seeing that type of shit from James Harden. Don't get me wrong. Like, I always knew that he was a pretty solid help defender on the interior, but not necessarily like he's been great. Ignore the bungle right there with the 3-point percentages. It actually is at 42.1%. The field goal percentage at 45.5%, and then the free throw percentage is great at 90.9 on 22 attempts, which the first 2 games, that left a lot to be desired from a calls standpoint, but last night was a shift in that mentality as he attempted 12 free throws. This is where I'm at with James right now, Mikey. I truly want to be able to believe that this is sustainable and that when Evan Mobley and a number of other players return to the rotation, whether that be Max Strus or Dean Wade, I want to believe that this level of play will continue. I need you to sell me on the idea right now of Jarrett Allen being able to continue this dominance that he has had alongside James Harden. Honestly, it began before that, but with James leading the charge now, it's skyrocketed. So tell me right now, because I know we don't have a lot of time to talk right now, Evan Mobley, where does he factor into this in terms of the spacing between the 1-5 connection that we've seen between Harden and Allen?
So we're going to talk this out and try to make as much sense of it as we can without any definitive answers because we haven't seen Mobley play with these guys. When Mobley's been out throughout his tenure with the Cavs, Jarrett Allen's been more aggressive. The numbers back it up. The eye test backs it up. I wish there was a way to be like, nah, it doesn't actually. No, it all adds up. Jarrett Allen has played better as the lone big without Evan Mobley. It could be partially spacing. It could partially be he feels more responsibility to deliver and be more aggressive as opposed to kind of fitting in around Evan. But when you look at James Harden over the course of his career, Mac, he's made every rim running big he's played with as good as they can possibly be. Clint Capella comes to example. Like Clint Capella got paid multiple times because of his years in Houston with James Harden. And he's been fine, but he hasn't been the same player without James Harden. And Joel Embiid is an MVP, but he won an MVP alongside James Harden. Ivanka Zubac took a gigantic step forward. He's less of a rim runner and more of just a great screen and roll player. He took a giant step forward with James Harden. It's been 3 games. Jarrett Allen's looked incredible in pick and roll situations with James Harden. It is worth pointing out he did have that 40-point game against Portland before James Harden got here. So the ascension did happen before, but that was all without Evan Mobley. Where does Evan fit in? My best guess, and this is once again just a guess, is that there will be minutes where all 4 of these guys, Don, James, Evan, and Jarrett, are on the court together. And it's going to be, I'm going to say 12-ish minutes a game, Mac. That's it. And then the rest, we're going to see him in tandems. And Harden and Allen will be attached at the hip, just like at many times DG and Allen were. And we'll see Don and Evan attached at the hip in different kind of substitution patterns. But when they're all on the court together, I think the best way to maximize the 2 bigs together with Harden in the offense he likes to run, if Mobley's shot doesn't improve. Because if he's making threes, you can figure it out. It's a spacer. But the way he's shooting right now, Mac, no one's going to guard him. As I actually think you either run the pick and roll with Mobley and then use Mobley more in the short roll, high post, as opposed to having him rim run and have Allen still be in that dunker spot to hold the backline defender at least accountable because he knows there's a lob threat behind him. But I don't think you could have Mobley being the lone roller because Allen's providing floor spacing. And if Allen's out on the court, they're not guarding him beyond the 3-point arc. So I think it's going to be kind of a short roll into the 8-9 foot area and then pivot back out to beyond the 3-point arc, just so there's some semblance of spacing while still keeping the big man engaged. And we even saw against Denver, and I wanted to point this out. I'm going to do a breakdown next week. They tried they tried to pre-switch a few times so they would get Jokic out of the pick and roll action. And Harden's such a smart offensive player that on the one play where Allen ended up having a little pivot layup around Jamal Murray, as soon as he noticed the pre-switch, he hit the corner. Donovan saw the fact that Jamal Murray had no idea what he was doing as a big man defender to pick and roll, immediately fired it into the middle to Jarrett Allen, who ended up slipping the screen. Allen got an easy finish. It's going to, and that lineup's going to put defenses in decision-making situations where they're going to have to make these things on the fly, even if it's predetermined beforehand what the mode is. If the Cavaliers can get good enough at diagnosing those pre-switches and figuring out how to get the mismatch on those pre-switches, they can take advantage of it. But I was just as curious as anyone, Mac. Mobley has to start making some 3-point shots for that 2-big lineup to work to the maximum capacity I believe it can. And if he's not going to make shots, he's going to become a really, 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 really good high post passer. He's already a pretty good passer out of the high post in the short roll. He's got to be really good out of that situation to kind of maximize that 5-man lineup.
It's funny you should say that because I feel like we have seen specific instances during these last couple of games where they have done that in small amounts of time with Jalen Tyson out of the short roll. We've actually even seen Craig Porter Jr. screening for the ball handler and passing it out of the short roll to a cutting Jarrett Allen who's going along the baseline or out of the dunker spot. We have seen that. And I think that Evan Mobley has earned the benefit of the doubt of being a pretty good short roll passer. So I definitely think that is within his wheelhouse. But I think he hit the nail right on the head. He has got to pick the 3-point percentage back up to where it was around last year. It doesn't even have to be that great, but it has to be better than it has been this.
It has to be good enough
season.
where they feel bad leaving you wide ass.
You got to respect it.
Yeah.
You got to become a respectable shot maker once more for those double big lineups to look successful together rather than having to stagger them so much, because there's only so much you can do that with two starting level front court players like that. When you're talking about the differences between Allen and Mobley anyways, like we already know that Allen is the superior screen and roller. Mobley can do that, but I think that in tandem, it's obviously going to be a 1-5 Harden Allen-esque pick and roll or DHO that gets the bulk of those minutes. So I think that they will share minutes together in reference to Harden and Mobley, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they put this whole thing together. And then the other component to that is who the fuck starts at the 3, because Dean Wade is not back yet. Jalen Tyson, if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said that this makes the most sense for Tyson to keep getting those starts at the 3 because of how malleable he is to whatever lineup you need him to be. You need him to be more on ball and create and get Allen running out of the pick and roll. That can work. You need him to be an off-ball shot maker or cutting an off-ball mover. He can do that. But now with the lack of size, I just don't know what the answer is. At least at the small forward position, because Harden is an upgrade in the size department over Garland. But I'm really curious to see what Kenny does at the 3. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to come down to who's making shots and who's not. Because in a perfect world, if Dean Wade's able to stand in the corner and make shots, he's the perfect fit with that lineup. Just the creation outside of Donovan and James, there's going to be so few opportunities. And then Evans getting the third amount in that starting group. Like, it's your fourth creator. And as good as Jalen Tyson's been this year, Mac, we could do the next 50 minutes if I had 50 minutes just on how good Jalen Tyson's been. He's been that good, that impressive.
Phenomenal.
Exceeded those expectations. I actually think when he's the starting 3 in a double big lineup with Harden and Mitchell, you're not utilizing him to the max of what he can do. I think he's actually too good to just be a standstill corner shooter, because even though he's tied for 6th in the league among players with at least a minimum of 100 catch and shoot opportunities this year, he's literally 6th. Sam Merrill's 5th, by the way. He's tied for 6th.
Yep.
Jalen Tyson, like, he fits the archetype of what they need in that spot. He's just too good just to be a stand in the corner shooter. He's too valuable as a short roller. That 2-man game between him and Donovan's become lethal this year. You even saw him set the screen for Harden yesterday. Harden goes pocket behind the back, pocket pass behind the back.
Beautiful pass.
He's too good to be neutralized just to the corner. And if he's your third big in a way with Mobley and that, like, he's just not setting screens. Like, there's not enough spacing if he's in that third stand in the corner guy. So I kind of think Dean Wade fits best into that. But Dean Wade has to prove he can make shots in the playoffs, because in the playoffs, you can't have Allen, who doesn't shoot threes, Mobley, who hasn't been able to make a 3 in the last 2 months, and Dean Wade, who's never made a 3 in the playoffs. Like, you can't have those 3 guys as your floor spacers. I think when everyone's healthy, Max Strus might be the perfect combination to be there, because he can move a little off ball. He is a pretty good rebounder from the guard spot, from the wing spot, whatever you want to put him in. He does have a little playmaking to him, and he is a smart enough veteran to know, if this is how James wants me to play, then this is how I'm going to play alongside James. And if this is what Donovan needs from me, this is how I'm going to play alongside Donovan, while still being able to use Jalen. I don't even want to cut his minutes. I want him to play as much, if not more, but put it with that second unit where he could use a little more of his on-ball creation. He could be more of a screener, be more involved in the offense, as opposed to just being designated as the standstill corner shooter, which he's been incredible at. Once again, 6th in the NBA in corner 3-point, in just catch and shoot 3-point percentage this year. But he's better than just a standstill shooter. So I think Dean gets the first crack at it. I would go Strus if he's healthy. And then obviously Merrill is it's just too small with Merrill. Like, I need more point of attack defense than Merrill, Harden, and Don. So Tyson's the third option, but it's no knock on Tyson. I just think he could be utilized better within the rotation.
These are extremely fair points. I think Kenny Atkinson is probably going to opt to lean that way. Dean, for what it's worth, shooting better as of late. 34% still overall in the season, just a 24% career playoff shot, which is no bueno.
That's the number. That's the number there, Mac.
Yeah, you got to be much better than 24%. And in that regard, I do kind of have to shift gears here to some of the other new additions, that being Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroder. We'll go with Keon first, just because he is somebody that I think kind of follows along those same traits in terms of point of attack defense. In his 4 games with the Cavaliers, 5 points, 3 boards, 1.8 assists, 2 steals, huge. But he's only shooting 38.9% from the field, including 33.3% from three-point distance. One of the big selling points of getting Keon was the fact that he not only could play high-level point of attack defense, but he was a more consistent off-ball shots than a Isaac Okoro at times, or some of these other pieces the Cavaliers have had that tried to man that role over the years. So what are your thoughts on what you have seen from Keon Ellis so far?
Crazy athletic, brings a high energy, he's a smart player. Some of the flexions he had, including the one against Denver, that led to the James Harden alley-oop to Jarrett Allen in transition.
He's got 13 of those on the season already with the Cavaliers.
He's been awesome in that regard. The shot will come around. He hasn't shot the ball great all year. Like, he's been a better shooter in previous seasons than he has this season. That's the life of I don't want to be disrespectful, a mid-tier 3-and-D guy. Because he got to prove it. He can do it longer. But
true,
he has his ups and downs. He's got to make shots in the playoffs to have a defined and carved out role. But the energy is undeniable, Mac. And he's a winning basketball player. And those sometimes there are numbers you can point to, stocks, deflections, hustle plays, how many times he died. He just makes winning plays. The guy I want on my team. Yes. 99 out of 99. I don't know why I said 100 out of 100 times. I don't know why I said 99. No, 100 out of 100 times. Give me a Keon Ellis on my squad. And I'm excited to see when the shot falls, how much more trust the rest of the guys around him have to make that extra pass to the corner to let him get a few more up.
I think the real question mark is going to be, where is the minutes distribution going to sit when Max Strus comes back? Because you have so many guys that are capable of playing the 2 and the 3, and guys who are interchangeable and positionally versatile enough to play up a position and conversely down a position. So I'm really interested to see what Kenny Atkinson decides to go there. Juxtaposed to that, we have Dennis Schroder, who in his short time with the Cavaliers, 7.5 points, 3.8 assists, 1.3 steals, very underrated at the point of attack. And a disruptor is Dennis Schroder. He's only shooting 13.3% from three-point distance, which leads me to this point right here, Mikey, before we head out of here. If there was one thing that I want to see Dennis do and do more of, it's just put the ball on the floor and drive and attack, because that was one of the big selling points to me when they acquired him. He was averaging 10.1 drives per game upon being acquired by Cleveland, which would have automatically been the 3rd highest amount behind Darius and Donovan. It's still 3rd behind James and Donovan, but I think that he has obviously taken a step back in that regard. He's more in an off-ball role because of the ball dominance and usage of Donovan and James and how they split these lineups. But what has been the biggest thing that has stood out to you about Dennis Schroder so far in the wine and gold?
He's relentless, and he puts his head down and gets the cup. And I want to see him do it more. I totally agree with you, Mac. I'm not sure if he's going to swing a game in the Cavs' favor in the playoffs, or he's going to shoot the Cavs out of a game in the playoffs. I'm not quite
don't
sure.
Say that. Don't even put that in.
There's going to be a game where it's going to be known as the Dennis Schroder game. And it may be one of the greatest Cleveland off the bench stories we had in a long time, or it could be a catastrophe. And I don't know yet, because he's that high volatile of a player. But another guy like Ellis, I'd much rather have on my side than have to play against him, because I'd rather have guys on my side that can swing a playoff game if they need it, than have a bunch of guys that I'm just praying show up, if that makes sense. And the Cavs over the course of the last couple seasons, they've just had guys that you're praying show up. Dennis, I know, is going to be there. And kind of like Ty Jerome, Ty was going to be there. Ty may have some ups. He can have some downs too. I feel like Dennis is in the same vein. But his relentlessness to get to the cup, and he's also a pest defensively. I think I always knew that, but until you see it up close and personal, like we saw last night, and granted, Washington's a tanking team. They don't have a ton of traditional point guards.
That's relative.
A lot of young guys going up against some savvy veteran defenders like Ellis and Schroder. Man, they were up in their shit all night long, Mac. They struggled to get the ball across half court at times. And Dennis wasn't backing down from nobody. And I've always said the Cavs need a little more asshole in the locker room. And I say this out of respect. Dennis has the reputation of being an asshole. I keep telling people he literally tried to fight Luka Doncic outside the Lakers locker room and got suspended 3 games for it. So he means business when he talks about some of the stuff that he says. And I think that attitude is only going to benefit some of the younger guys on this roster to see, hey, you can kind of ruffle some feathers, but if you back it up and you mean some of the things you say, you'll get the respect from around the league. And I think Schroder has that. And I think in the long run, once again, he's a guy I'd rather have than a guy I'd rather play against. And my meeting,
Mikey McNuggets.
So I let's keep going till I get the invite that I got to hop on, because this is fun.
Okay, yeah, I'm not trying to rush you. I just want to keep you on your schedule. But either way, I think that what we have seen from both of these guys has been that they will add in key areas. I'm still a little skeptical about what the rotational fit will be once we do return to full strength and we get a Max Strus back and we get a Dean Wade back, and if there's going to be enough minutes for everybody, or if Kenny is going to opt to expand the rotation. But I don't know, man. There's not enough size here, I feel like, for everybody to play. And there are so many deserving candidates. And somebody who I want to highlight really quickly, who may be looking on the outside in once people do return to full strength, is Craig Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Craig Porter Jr. is, in my opinion, is likely to end up a casualty of just too many talented guards on this roster. And that was the conundrum even before the Lonzo Ball trade, because once Max Strus came back, somebody was probably going to have to suffer the consequences of minutes not being available. So if you had to make a case for Craig Porter Jr. to remain within the rotation moving forward, what would that be?
I got a minute here, Max. The call just started. So let me give you my 60 cents on Craig Porter Jr. Another guy that does all the things you want a point guard to do at a high level, except the traditional point guard stuff of creation for others. Like he's a good driver. He's a pretty good finisher. He's a good enough defender. I feel like he takes a lot of risks and sometimes he gets burned for it. I feel like he's more of an instinctual defender than he is like a traditional get in a stance, lock you up kind of defender. But Kenny doesn't, for one reason or other, it feels like Kenny doesn't fully trust him. Even when Lonzo Ball was struggling, like they didn't make the full-time switch. They kept going back and forth. They bring in a Dennis Schroder. They bring in a Keon Ellis that, those minutes could have gone to Craig Porter Jr. It feels like the fact that he's just not a consistent enough three-point shooter yet, and I say yet because I certainly think he can develop into a more consistent three-point shooter, and the fact that his playmaking just isn't there. Nights where he had to fill in for Darius, and it was Donovan and him, like, they just weren't getting enough penetration to the paint. They weren't getting enough playmaking for everyone else. It just seems to be there, but not at a level you need it to be at second guard off the bench or a first guard off the bench. I think that's what's kind of holding him back. And I do agree with you. If everyone's healthy, he's probably the first guy that gets the hook in favor of a healthy Max Strus.
Thank you for joining the show on such short notice, Mike. I know you got a jet, man.
Course,
I appreciate it.
Anytime. Always love talking hoops with you, Mac.
Same to you, my friend.